Well, I'm sure this must be a dream come true for you, a night you'll never forget to be on the Future Quake Show.
Words fail me.
I know. Often happens. People
That's a first.
People wish words would fail us sometimes, don't they, Tom? Hey,
Indeed.
Tom, before we get into our news...
I know you had a bunch of emails you'd like to read.
It feels like it's been 2 months since we've been on the air.
Well, it pretty much has, yeah.
I'll confess to you all, we did a number of shows ahead of time. I hope you all enjoyed the great shows we had the last few weeks.
Collins and...
Because I had to get ready for this conference that we talked about this week. And so we had done several in advance, and we got a lot of positive feedback. But in the meantime, while we've been off the air, we're even rustier than normal behind the microphone. But accumulated a number of emails that I think are fascinating, and I'd just like to give a hey out to our listeners.
Well, throw it out there.
We're getting some good things.
Don't go looking at me.
Make some comments. Maybe you can abuse our listeners.
All right.
As well.
Here
as
I go.
Me.
All right.
The first one I'd like to mention is from, this was Joan. Who sent an email, said, just found your program and listened to Chris Pinto, then went to I assume this was on WENO in Nashville, Tennessee, and then I went to your website and, oh my goodness, such a lineup of archives.
Wow, how sweet.
Are you two in Nashville? Yes. And if so, where do you attend church? I thought that was a great time in the interest of full disclosure to
we go.
That we do have a connection with Pastor Van over here. We are both attendees of Calvary Chapel of Rivergate as
Indeed,
well.
sir.
On the northern Nashville area. And
we've thusly been full disclosed now.
I don't know if we can do commercials or not, but
here.
No.
I'm a happy camper there. And so that's where we are, and that's where they accept strange people like you and I.
There you go.
And Joan says that it's difficult to find one. I think a show that deals with prophecy, much less edgy stuff. She says she loves Lynn Marzulli, who's been on our show, and Dr. Thomas from Omega Conspiracy, who we could have on our show.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And they attend here in the local area here. So, Joan, it's wonderful to have you as part of our show. Please continue emails.
Thanks for listening.
Other guests as well, and we thank you that you're a new listener, and particularly through WENO. Also would like to say hey to Mike and Nancy, who emailed us. I always like it when the subject says great show. That's
good. Yeah, I like those too.
That's always reassuring.
I thought all the emails we got said great show.
Yeah. They say, I listen to the show over the internet, and this is from Mike, representing Mike and Nancy, over the internet, and it's great to see that it's now going over the airwaves. A great purpose is being served by this, and hopefully more stations will finally get it.
Well, how nice.
Mike, thank you for the...
If we had some free swag to give him, we should give him something. But we have...
Some what?
Free swag.
Is that like feng shui?
No, that means stuff.
Pastor Chris, help us out here if you can interpret.
A Future Quake koozie or a
interpretation.
Future Quake.
I'm familiar with the term, yeah.
Okay.
It's like free stuff that you give away.
Yeah. Okay.
You should know that, you being a radio star and all.
Maybe we can come up with like Cracker Jack kind of stuff.
You need sponsors.
Towel. Yeah.
You need sponsors to donate free stuff.
Yeah.
You give away. That's
keychains. Yeah. I'd like to get one of those little things that when you turn it, it has two images in the light. Like we could have Tom Bionic and Dr. Future.
There you go.
Anyway, Mike and Nancy, thank you so much for being part of the Future Quick family. Sometimes it's like the Manson family, but it is a family nevertheless, and we're just glad to have you here. I also would like to say hi to...
I don't know what that means, but okay.
I believe it's NACE. It's NACE. I hope it's NACE. In Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Okay.
Our signal reaches way, way, way up into Kentucky. I know by personal experience, down to the Alabama state line.
Wow.
And it's a real honor, and I want to thank WENO for giving us such an opportunity.
Thank you.
At a great station here with such a reach. Well, anyway, Nace from Bowling Green says, hello, Dr. Future. My name is Nace. I heard about your show last night for the first time and checked out your website today. I like it. I would like for you to consider having Samuel J. Hunt on your show. Written a book called Episteme Scientica. There you go with the hard names, and we're not even in the news yet.
Yep.
The law
you always
that
get the
is
tough ones,
written.
man.
And it's an Amazon. He's a senior at Western Kentucky University and gave a lecture at WKU entitled "Science Proves Creation." It was excellent. So we'll follow up on that.
Yeah,
and
check him out.
He gave his website at scienceprovescreation.com. And Nace, please keep listening. It was great to have you sending feedback.
Yeah.
Please, more of our listeners, if you would do that, we'd certainly appreciate that. Now, here's one who's a very interesting one. Goes a little more detail. And thanks for bearing with us on the news here. We just had a few of these stack up here. This is from Steve, who had an issue about one of our guests.
Oh, that's too bad.
This is Dear Dr. Future. I enjoy listening to your show, but Jerome Corsi was a huge disappointment. He simply doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to Europe. I will say that as someone who lives in the UK and who lectures in politics at a university in the UK. Which I would say is probably your typical FutureQuake listener, would you say?
University...
International professors.
Yeah, that's pretty much...
I think it usually takes that just to be able to understand, what we talk about here on FutureQuake.
Well,
Steve,
I always use my decoder ring.
Thank you. It's really cool to have you listening to us right now. He said there was many factual errors in what he said. I'm at a loss where to begin. We need to have Steve and Dr. Corsi on going at it. I think
we'd need sounds like we'd almost need like a video camera for like a cage match.
But he said he'd leave out the basic historical errors, dates of treaties, etc., and say Europe is a Europe of nations, not a super state. It was implied. And he's got quite a detail here, and I don't want to cut it short, but I know we've got others. He says, my first witness to this statement I call ambitious British European politicians. And basically he explains how we don't have a clear understanding of the ambition of politicians in Europe and where the real power really lies in states versus in the super states. He says, and this is important, he says, fourthly, it is not the case that Europe has been restricting civil liberties. The various treaties related to the EU do not specifically relate to civil liberties, but concern themselves with economics and trade, much like the beginnings of North American Union. That's my comment. What attacks have been on civil liberties have come from a few national governments. In Britain, for example, the hysteria over terrorism has led to a passing of a measure in the House of Commons which permits the police to detain people for up to 42 days without charge. Or at least in our place, you go to Guantanamo for 8 years without charge. But, and then it says Britain does not possess a Bill of Rights like the USA, and so it's been possible, in theory at least, for British governments to pass measures destructive of personal liberties. Evidently, even if you have a Bill of Rights, you can do that too. But
we're getting
It says what protection there has been has come from an international treaty known as the European Convention on Human Rights, following the horrors of World War II. I could go on, but I won't, except to mention that homeschooling may be banned in Germany, but it's perfectly legal in Britain.
Yeah. Well, thanks
for the
alternative viewpoint there.
And Steve, I'm not pulling your leg. I'd love to have you on.
Yeah.
Come talk sometime with us. I appreciate you taking the time. Yeah, we want to be factual. That's one of our main things, and we love having Dr. Corsi on. But Steve, we also like you speaking directly from where you are. There,
we want to be factual. I thought we were going for the bling.
Well, I know. Well, I know that's why I'm on here. It's just for the bling myself. I'm sort of walking bling.
Yeah.
I'll hit a couple other real quick ones, and then we'll get on. And by the way, Pastor Chris, you're welcome.
Yeah, feel free to steal my mic there.
We got from someone by the name of David Lowe.
I think I know that guy. That sounds familiar. Did he write a book?
Yes, and he mentioned about William Grigg, our interview recently.
Oh, really?
He says, I just listened to an interview of William Grigg. Listening to you dialogue was truly a treat because there was so much wisdom and depth of understanding. Hopefully he meant William Grigg, too, not just me.
I'm pretty sure.
And a great ability to vocalize that wisdom and understanding. And he says, I agree with his views of the war and Christians' response to it, as well as his understanding that a Romans 13 cop-out view by Christians is inconsistent with the Word of God.
I'm glad he brought that up.
Yeah, Griggs is obviously supremely intelligent and well-spoken. Amazing stuff, and I look forward to hearing the other 75% of your questions of him. And that was because we only covered about a quarter of the information. I'm
really sorry I wasn't there for that one. Yeah. It was good.
Well, we'll be back.
I know.
Like Schwarzenegger says, we'll be back.
I'll be back.
I thought
he said I have a huge budget deficit. Isn't that what he said?
Yeah, that's the update.
Yes, yeah. I have a huge budget deficit.
I have bonds that are defaulting. Actually, this is one where we got caught in the crossfire of an email between Mr. Lowe and Tom Horn, another of our guests, where he actually emailed Tom about, he says, I'm 3/4 of the way through your recent interview with you and I here on FutureQuake, and he wants to say it was a fabulous interview. I'm sure he was referring to you and me.
Oh, yes.
Well-referenced, extremely interesting. And it was always fresh and insightful. Questions were excellent and penetrating as well. And then he asked him some questions, which I won't get into, about some of the details of the scriptural points he makes out. And I just wanted to point out that that's pretty cool that we've got guests even listening to each other, and FutureQuake's becoming a forum where they can
that could
work
be good.
On some of these cutting-edge theories that they have.
That could be good, or that could be one of those things where they're actually, using it as like a sedative,
You don't think you'll have a Donald Trump, Rosie O'Donnell kind of thing going on on the show.
I think this show's
I think we got one going on right now. I mean,
well, this show's a lot like The View, the way I look at it. It's a very similar feel to it. I'm sort of like the.
Which one of us is Rosie O'Donnell?